Hey yo, what's good with y'all, man? Your boy Trey, Dang Night Chess. Just wanted to pop in here real quick and just show this like bombshell of a game I just played. Like, this is a pretty like intense, like heart ripping game, man. Like I'm showing right here, bro. So if you look at it, so this is move 40. With move 40, I have a minute left on the clock. All right. I have a minute now to convert. It's a 10 minute game overall, and I pretty much have a minute to go from this position to somehow finding a win. Like there's like two rooks on the board, um, knight to capture. I got a knight to capture, but that's pretty self-explanatory. But basically, two rooks on the board and three pawns. So it's a pretty even position. But with this being like a pass pawn, I have to figure out how to, I'll have to after I capture this, I'll have to figure out how to neutralize this pawn, get all the way down here, make a queen, and checkmate this motherfucker in a minute. I've already lost it 90. I've spent 90% of the game. This game actually goes on for 76 moves. Um, I'm not gonna show the ending, but yeah, I'll show you what happens with at the we'll talk through what happens at the end. So basically the story, this was an E4 game. I went E5. He went knight C3. I go knight C6. He responds with knight F3. I go knight F6. So basically, this is a four knights game, and at this point, it can pretty much just transition into a lot of stuff. Um, he plays bishop out, which is kind of like the Rui. I don't know what the name of it is called. It's kind of like a Rui Lopez, but with this knight C6 or C3 idea coming in too as well. I'm not too fond of it. So my idea was to, I guess I'm breaking opening principles, move the knight twice. But I wasn't crazy about letting this bishop just sit here, and I didn't like the idea of like pushing a pawn. So I decided to, jump the knight forward, which reattack. I guess it does offer a trade here, but it also attacks the bishop here. So I'm kind of trying to. The idea when I played it, I wanted him to take so I could recapture with the pawn, hit his knight, and kick his knight off of this pawn. So once the knight moves here's probably pretty stupid. But once the knight moves somewhere, then this knight could just jump in and grab the undefended pawn. So that was the idea. That was the idea behind the move. Eventually, I could kick the bishop, take control of the center. That's pretty much what I was trying to set up with this move. Instead, he captures the pawn, which I didn't. I immediately was like, all right, there's just got to be a mistake here. Like there. I don't know what it is, but I'm like, I'm gonna find something. So when he captures the pawn, I go to recapture here, which wasn't the best move. They just wanted me to develop the queen, which that was my second option. I just didn't know. Like if we go back, like I didn't know. Like once I'm here, yeah, that's what I figured. I'm like, all he's got to do is defend, right? So I don't know. I don't know. This is a confusing one. So if I go here, now I take, and then you take. Nope, that loses a rook. So what the shit? What is the option? What am I supposed to do here? Let's see. So let's follow the line. Okay. Oh wow. So after the queen is there, pawn pushes instead of recapture. Oh wait. Oh no, you have to recapture. You have to recapture. Once that comes, then you go here, kick the knight back, and you can take with check. So now his queen would either have to block, which he's down a little bit of material already, so that wouldn't be ideal. Or he goes knight or king here, but I feel like the knight. You know what? We're getting sidetracked on this shit. Let's get back to the game. So basically, from the game where we were, tells the bishop. I go here. He takes the pawn. I take the bishop. He takes back, and then I take the pawn that's undefended. He brings the queen on, attacking my knight, but it looks a little scarier than what it is. Um, and I just defend it with the pawn. You know, pretty easy. He attacks it because pretty much what he's trying to set up is he wants me to, like, if you pay attention to this queen and like lined up with my king, he wants, which, and I could pretty much see this coming. Well, I could see it coming once he put the queen in front of the knight. Um, he wants my knight to just move somewhere so that then he could move somewhere and it's a discovered check. He would win my queen. Like I would have to. Yeah, I couldn't even block if I tried to. If I tried to block with the queen, then the knight just takes my queen. So I'm in a pretty tough situation. The move I find is queen h6 or queen h4, moves, gives a check, buys me a tempo to figure out what I really want to do. Plus, I figured if the pawn pushes, then I can capture, set up a tactic of like a discovered, like I can set up a discovered check of my own. At the same time, I have dismantled his discovered. So if he pushes and I take here, now I'm hitting his queen. So if he moves his knight somewhere, let's say going for that fork, or going for that discovered attack, then I just take the source of the discovered attack. I solve instead of having to move the king or block it. Then I this move would also aim to take the pretty much to take the queen. So yes, he does go for it anyways. I don't know why. Or I guess they said it's the best move. I take the pawn, and he goes for this discovered, which I mean, all I've got to do is counter strike him, and this is just pretty nasty. So now instead of him just winning my queen for free, which I guess he thought he was gonna do with this whole double, oh, I got a double check or I got a discovered check, like he thought he was gonna win my queen. He blew his load on this damn bullshit. And so he got surprised by that. Now we just exchange pieces, and if you can see the bar, it's a 1.1 advantage for black, slighted, very slighted, like a pawn. I'm pretty much up a pawn right now at this point because I have this knight hanging. Because I have this knight hanging, and he's targeting this pawn, this fork right here, which would fork my king and rook. Instead of moving, if I were to just move the knight, I would lose that fork. So I just went ahead, decided to capture here, just for the sake of getting something. He recaptures instead of going for the fork, so that buys me a tempo to just slide my king over and protect this pawn. So now that threat's gone, and I kind of like the way his attack so far. So he strikes at the center, or I guess he's trying to fight for my control of the center with this c4 move. I just reinforced the pawn with c6. I guess the better move would be to target this open knight first. He retreats the bishop. I go ahead and take it so I can just completely ruin his pawn structure. Now he's got double isolated pawns on the a file. This pawn looks like it's about to become, like, even if I take, like, it looks like this pawn's about to become pretty weak. Or if I take that, then this pawn technically becomes the weak one. All of these pawns are isolated. So my idea is just absolutely wreck his structure, and then use my rooks and my bishop to just come gobble the pieces up, promote a queen, make in the game. Right now we're in move 15. There's 7 minutes left. So I go ahead and I take this first move to just deliver check to the king, make him force him to make a decision. Then I go ahead. I didn't like the idea of letting him take, or sorry, of me taking and then him bringing the rook in. I don't know why I got scared of it. I just thought of the idea of like, oh, him doubling up rooks is pretty fucking terrifying. I don't know, but even though they're just staring into a protected pawn, I don't know what I was thinking. I just kind of spazzed out and made a quick decision. So I brought the bishop out. He takes, which is an inaccuracy because that just lets me take back with the bishop. And now I have a small little pawn chain plus a bishop that supports the chain. So like at any moment, even if he attacks the base of it, I can push one pawn, and that bishop is now protecting the base of my chain. And then push and then push. However it goes. He jumps in the knight, trying to target this pawn, which would also attack my rook. So I attack it. I noticed the only other square he could jump to even cause trouble was here, which would attack here. So once he goes here, I'm prepared. Covers the whole back rank. Cool. He wants to fight. He wants to trade off rooks, which is I don't like the idea just because I'm up. You know, at this point the eval bar says 3 pawn. I got a -3 advantage. So at this point I'm like, fuck it. All right, I'll take this, and then I'm just gonna go attack the knight. Which I guess defending the base of the pawn chain was better because I saw this. I saw the rook coming down with check, trying to put two attackers on this. So I don't know. I assumed when he came with check that I could just take the knight. Say here rook takes, then I would just take the knight. So I'm like, all right, cool. I must be pretty safe. He goes here. He takes it anyway. And at this point, this is where I realized, he just set me up. Like I just fucking walked right into his setup. So it looks like he blundered the knight. But the thing is, if I take the knight here, then all that happened. It converts instead of a -3 that I had, or he found a minus. Okay, so I took it to negative 1.5, 1.4. Instead of that, if I were to, recapture this bishop, then he just comes down with the fork, and he wins the bishop back. So forks the king and bishop. So I'm like, all right. So instead of that, let's just capture this free pawn. I guess I should have moved back to the center to just because then that makes sense. If I move back to the center here, then that just reinforces the threat of bishop takes because now if he tries to come down, the king take, like the king covers the square. All right, that makes sense. That's pretty freaking logical. I'm here. Okay, so let's see. Bishop comes down. I mean, rook comes down. I have to move my king out the way. He goes knight here. I'm guessing trying to go for it, either check or just move his knight to. Honestly, probably just move his knight to safety. More than anything, I don't think he was even trying to set anything up. But now he's got two attackers on this pawn, and so I'm like, all right, let's just slide the rook over, protect that. This one is left hanging, so I can't at this point the rook is just covering everything. Like the rook owns this entire file. Like he can pretty much do what the fuck he wants. So I'm just like, all right, I just gotta try to fend off. And I defend with that pawn, but that one's left. So I bring the bishop back to protect this pawn. He slides over to attack the one. And now at this point, I can push because I wanted to be able to use my idea. I wanted to be able to use my rook. Like now, at this point in the game, he's got two pieces that are really, really active, and I have one bishop defending this pawn, and I have a knight defending that pawn. I mean, my rook defending this pawn, which is just like I don't know. I'm getting kind of crushed. So the idea was to play c5, which would open up this connection. So now my bishop is the one protecting this pawn, and I can start moving my rook around pretty freely and this tech and stuff. He takes the pawn, of course. I drop the bishop back, which I guess my I was worried here about the knight going somewhere and having a discovered attack. But actually looking at it, like they're three moves on the way on a, or he's a square away on the diagonal. Um, and they're touching, so the knight actually doesn't have a single thing to target. Anywhere the knight moves, even though he's got 8 squares to attack, it doesn't attack anything other than I guess maybe that pawn. Um, and so it's just not really scary. I freaked out a little bit, retreated the bishop just so I could cover the king and protect his pawn at the same time. And then now I slide the rook over. He blocks it with a knight. So pretty much what he just did here was I'm pinning this pawn from attacking the knight or from defending the knight. So if this was any other situation, I could take the knight and he can't recapture. But because his rook is skewering or what is it? X-raying my king, pinning the which pins the bishop. And then I can't move it, so I got to figure out something to do with the bishop, or with the king, so that I can make this an actual active threat. So retreating the king, there was a better move. I don't have time right now to play all the better moves. I guess going forward with the king was the better move, or to find it all. Again, 3 minutes on the clock. We're at move 30, bro. So like, he's creating some really really nice strong counterplay. He's got an advanced pass pawn, or he's got this pass pawn that's just like waiting. So if I were to trade here, or like ready to come down, so if I were to trade here, he recaptures, then he can just march this pawn, and there's pretty much nothing I can do to stop it. Like I can't even come up and over. It would just be moved, like it would be game over. So I have to move the rook out the way and figure out number one, dude, is just how the fuck do you get rid of this pawn? Cause like this little bitch is, oh god, I lost my shit. I'm like, hold on, this little pawn is just like causing me hell, absolute hell. Sorry, I just lost my game. Let's let the analysis come back up. Come on, baby girl. All right, start review. All right, it seems like a lot happened right here, but it's actually not that many moves. All right, so he slides here, I slide over. He comes down, gives me a check. I move out the way. He brings the king in to protect this pawn, so I can't take it anymore. I slide over to get this king off of the open file. I'm not letting no king sit in no goddamn open file on me. And so he slides it over. I slide back to attack the rook. I guess I should have gone backwards so that he couldn't do this little march thing. And he starts to zigzag together. He comes back, so I come back, give him another check. This time I'm like, oh yeah, for sure, I got him. Boom, step back again. He's like, all right, fuck, he slides back. And keep in mind, I still don't want to take here, just because if I take, for one, my king is exposed again. He's gonna step back and check me, and it's pretty annoying not having anywhere really to hide the king. I guess I could step up and then push a pawn. But then I get he could drop back and attack the base of the. It's just annoying. Like it's just more so annoying more than anything. So I didn't want to take that chance. Plus, I didn't want him to recapture and then have like connected pawns. Like, right? You remember, like I just talked about, my advantage was the fact that all of these pawns are isolated. They have absolutely no, like, they're not able to support each other. So he would have to use either his king or one of his pieces to actually protect the pawns in that situation. So my idea, all right, I need to start picking them off. Let's figure out how to get it done. Step here, he slides the rook over, and he defends it. So, or he seemingly defends the position. But in this position, there's one key move, that he missed, that I can just slide back over and now attack this pawn. And at this point, he has no way. So like he can't slide the rook over. He can't drop the king back. The knight can't go anywhere that actually, well, I guess he could go knight here, but then he would just drop the pawn. Anywhere that he tries to move, I've got two attackers on this pawn, and so you can't really do anything. Which I guess he does actually go for that knight move. I kind of foreshadowed it a little bit. He goes for the knight move. I take the pawn, which now evens the game out. Now we're three pawns versus three pawns and a piece each. But I have a bishop which is slightly stronger. Granted that given the fact that they can cover these entire diagonals all at once, his knight can only move in these little like L's, like one move at a time. God dang it, I'm terrible with these arrows. So so that's how the knight has to move. Much slower. So on this super open board here, it's much more advantageous for him to have for him to get rid of this bishop for the knight. He goes for it. I take back, and at this point, there's 58 seconds left in the position or in the game. I had now have to stop this advanced pawn, somehow trade off the rooks, and then get my pawns, which I don't even have a passer. I have to then create a pass pawn and push it all the way down the board in a minute. And let's see what turns out of this out of this situation, man. This one was like freaking my heart's racing. I'm pretty much, I kind of not wrote it off as a loss, but I'm like, this is gonna be a tough loss, tough game. He brings the king back, pretty much trying to clear the way for this pawn to start moving. I take the free pawn. Obviously he pushes. I drop back, which I guess I should have just started pushing myself, because he's got this easy move to defend it. I drop back trying to force the rook away. He goes back, he retreats a square. I keep attacking him, and now the rook moves forward to d3. I go ahead and go rook a1, trying to attack the pawn from the backside, and just keep, I don't know, just kind of keep being annoying, keeping threats up, and just keep this like honestly kind of keep him more what's it? Keep him honest over here. And so I'm like, all right, cool. Like, let's bring it up. Like, and if anything, like I can push now at this point that I've like created that pass pawn over there. So when I captured here, now I've got two pass pawns that can't be stopped. Like these pawns now can't be touched. As long as I can get rid of this guy, then he's gonna have a hard time getting this pawn past, like getting his pawn past mine, so that he can promote. Even if I gotta sacrifice him. Foreshadowing. Slides over, boom, we're here. We get to this position. So now I've got my two pass pawns versus his one pass pawn that's even further up and supported by the king. So he pushes a6. I go rook g1 check because I'll need either the king to come here or just somewhere away from the pawn, like either here, left or right. You know, we need you away from this file. He steps away and I slide back one more time. Now he has to waste another move, moving the king over to g7. So I go ahead and I start my pawn push. I guess the b5 push was better, but I go a5. Fuck it, man. He pushes h7. I go b6. He creates a queen, and at this point I am absolutely screwed. Except for you can simply take the queen. You don't have to let him just have the queen. I sacrificed it for the rook, and in this situation, like yes, I gave up my rook in essential for a pawn, but again, I've got two pass pawns. He's got just a rook and a pawn, and the king is going to be in the very corner of the map. So I am very comfortable with this sacrifice and thinking of like converting the end game. So from this position though, it's 16 seconds. So whatever it is, it's gonna happen fast. In point 0.8 seconds, I push a pawn. He defends it with the rook. I take a second 1.3, defend it with a pawn. He starts to bring the king in so that he can try to munch up on these pawns, or at least use the rook and the king together to munch the pawns because I've only got the king for defense. So like, if he could put two attackers on any piece or anything on the board, then he wins it. So I march the king up. Boom. He drops the bishop. He drops the rook back so that he can just get out of this push, like this just inevitable push, which I'm just gonna like bully the shit out of him if he stays too close. And so I bring the king up so that I can start. It pretty much bringing the king up allows me to like start pushing pawns without weakening one pawn. So I'm like, all right, cool. He brings the king closer. I go ahead and push the b pawn. He slides the rook over, trying to attack here, which is they call it a losing mistake. I guess he should have tried to go on and try to paralyze it from the backside, which that is an engine move because I don't know who in their right mind would go here and maybe drop and not expect me just to keep pushing. So that one I'm gonna let the computer have that shit. I slide the king back over to protect the pawn. He brings his king one step closer. And keep in mind, like, his king can't go here. His king only has this square to attack to get any closer to my position. So the goal is to not allow that or not give him a reason to do that. At this point now, I'm pushed because if his tries to if he tries to bring that king in, we going to the goal line. We right here at this point. Boom, he slides the rook over. I step the king up. He tries to bring the king in, but paying attention that like I block here, so like his only square to even like keep some semblance of a hope is there. Push a pawn, he steps forward, and now boom, you're kicked out. Now my king covers all of this. My king's covering these squares. So pawn's attacking this, and so you can't keep your king here. Like your king is now he's got to go. He out the party. 60 moves in. Now I got 10 seconds. All of these are just busting through. Like these are just very quick moves. I've got in point one. I might have pre-moved that one. Point one, push the rook, expecting him to go into the corner because that's the only way to actually save it. In this point, boom, step the king up. Now I can push this pawn freely without him taking here. He brings the rook back to attack the base of my pawn chain. I guess I shouldn't have retreated, which I saw that on the sec. But y'all, 10 seconds left. I took less than almost a little bit less than 4 seconds basically to make this move. I made the wrong move. I should have just pushed. He goes right back into the corner. At this point, boom, I just go ahead and kick his rook out. Forced him to capture. So anytime this is a good rule. connected pawns on the seventh or the second rank, they're beating the rook every time because he can't stop it. He literally, no matter which way you go, whatever happens, like one of these pawns is getting pushed through. Or if we take, if you leave it, we take whatever. One of these pawns is coming through though. So he has to take. Boom! I make the queen. He drops back. He's trying. He's like, all right, yeah, this guy only has five. This dude probably thought, bro, I only got 5 seconds left to try to defend this position, or to win this game. And versus his the 20 second 7 seconds that he left, so he's obviously just gonna try to flag me out. What did he do wrong by making this move though? I'll give you a second to find it. And if you found boom, oh sorry, I tried my computer. If you found boom, dropping the queen back, going for this fork on e4, then bam, we're good. So now his king has to move. We scoop the rook. He brings the king back. I come back to where I was, and he's just running. So I got 3 seconds left. Which honestly, it sounds like not much time. It's an eternity. When you pre-move, you can pre-move, and a pre-move only takes a point one off the clock. So I technically have 31 moves left that I can make. We're on move 69. Technically, if I am just pre-moving every single little thing, I can make 31 more moves. And all he's got left is this pawn and king, or is this pawn versus my queen and pawn, which is still, it's not just given. Like you kind of just have to know what to do. But I like when I started chess, I honestly blundered. I would lose games like this all the time. Just because like even though and it pisses me off. Like I'll have a queen, rooks, a bishop. I'll have the entire board versus this one pawn, but because I run out of time, I lose. I actually lose. Like no matter how good of it, like the engine saying I have a mate in 7. No matter how good that looks, if you run out of time while your opponent has one fucking pawn, you will lose the game. You actually lose the game. It's annoying. They can flag you. They can, with the rook sit there and just move them square to square to square. Like they can just fuck off and kill you. Which is, I mean, it's a viable tactic. It is what it is. It's pussy play, but it works. So boom, I check. Let's without belaboring the point. Sorry. Give him a check again. Now I can take the pawn, which is just even another check. Now you just have to move the king again, even though that's the only piece, so you just have to move it anyways. I just like it. Point 8, pushing the pawn. He brings the king back. Point 7, push the pawn. Make a king, make a queen. And then now, if you pay attention, these queens are cutting off his access. So now the game is here, and this is just GG's. Like everything at this point can just be pre-move. Like ladder, all I gotta do is ladder mate him. So since he can't come this way, all he can do is stay on this file or go left. He moves left, which just lets me block off another file. So now I'm shrinking his box. So he had, if you look a move ago, he had a box of 4 square. Let's say 4 squares that he had to work with. He moves left. All right, let's just shrink that box. Now you only got 3 squares to work with. Now my queen covering that. He slides over. Boom. Now you only got 2 squares to work with. All right, I still got 2.2 left. He steps forward. He's just trying to. I guess he's just trying to go for a stalemate. Give him that right there, and he quit on the spot. 1.8 seconds left. I took this position. So with 76 moves, 1.8 seconds left. This is when he quits because his only move is to go to one of these 3 squares, and then I'm just shutting it down. Like now, now he's out of squares. He can't come out. And it would be checkmate here on H2. And so all of this happens, but this was I don't know, this was just badness when you go back to, I hit the minute mark. I've spent 90% of the game. 90% of the game got me to what was it? Sorry, I went back. 90% of the game got me to this moment right here. So I thought, but as all the pieces started dropping off, I was able to take it from here to finish in a minute. Like, oh my god, bro! When I tell you, I jumped up for joy. I was hype as hell to have this moment to just see. Honestly, once I promoted the queen, I knew. Once I got to once I got to this, it was a wrap because I'm like, oh yeah, you can't do shit. Everything is just pre-moved. Just coming over and just destroying his position. Like that was over with. But hey, look, you stayed with me. I appreciate you. let me actually see show. So on the out on the play too, it started up pretty level. Black took the advantage, of course, early, and then evens out. White I never really gave White like a lead, but he did, through a couple of my inaccuracies, he did even out, get a little bit of a lead, and then at the end, I just took off. 89.4% accuracy. I absolutely love that. My normal is probably like I'm what 13. I'm at 1368 right now. I've got been as high as about 1550. And yeah, so I'd say my normal is probably like 70, 75% ish. So this is really good to see. This is really, really good to see. Engine evaluated me at about a 2100. I said my opponent played like a 1900. So granted, like look at us, like we're both under 1400 for us to be playing this high. That's really good. That's a really he's a pretty strong player to be doing this, but unfortunately he was just outmatched. Like like your boy played a pretty fucking good game. But it's cool, yeah. Like I don't know, I just wanted to share this with y'all, man. Chess is dope. Y'all should play. I want y'all to come check it out. If you want to learn some shit, man, hit me up. Send me some moves. I'm always happy to coach, talk about it, see what's up, and evaluate positions. I'm still learning. Again, also, I'm still learning. So, like, let me throw this disclaimer: I am no grandmaster. I'm not an expert or anything. I just started playing a couple years ago. Well, I guess I played in middle school, but then I played for like a year in middle school. Um, I wouldn't even say a year. Chess club was on. I was in chess club for a year. We didn't do much chess. Oh no, that was the year I got suspended. I wasn't even in it for the full year. That's why. My eighth grade year, I got suspended. Or I got suspended and then transferred to another school. And so I guess I spent a little bit of time. So my advice is not the best. I have some good general concepts that I like to throw out there and just say like, oh yeah, these are good things to watch out for. But I am, as you can tell from like my evaluation or like checking out what the engine says, like I don't understand a lot of the things in the chess. Like, and I miss a lot, which it's a incredibly complicated. Like Jesus Christ, to call it incredibly complicated is an understatement of the century. It's just one of those games where it's like, dude, you just have to. There's a million variations. There's a million ways to convert positions. There's a million ways to, develop your pieces and attack and go about the game and create threats and things. So it's just I'm one of those that like I'm still early on, so I'm figuring out. But like if you want to chat it up, if you want to talk about it, I'm always happy to go into some chess shit, man. Be a nerd. Let's do it, man. Like, y'all know me as a football player, bro, and a boxer and a athlete that do all kind of shit. But like, yo. This brain, yo, don't forget about the brain, man. That thing's something different. That thing is something different. Yeah, holla at you though. You stay up. Come check out the next stream.